Imagine making $1.4 million playing video games, just to realize that you don't actually like gaming. For many of you, playing video games professionally would be the dream, but for those who actually get there, reality is often not as sweet as it seems. On July 27, 2019, this man won $1 million, becoming the youngest gamer in esports history to do so. His name is Jaden Ashman, and he was only 15 years old at the time. Better known as Wolfiez, this moment marked the realization of a lifelong dream, taking a normal kid from a small town in the UK to the biggest stage in gaming. But from the highest of highs came the lowest of lows. And only a few years later, this dream would turn to a nightmare, and he would walk away from Fortnite for good. But what could possibly go wrong when you've just won $1 million and achieved your lifelong dream? To understand what happened to Wolfiez, we need to understand what he was really fighting for. And I would discover this firsthand when 3 years after his $1 million win, I found myself debating him on live television. You see, most people think winning $1 million playing video games would solve all of their problems. But Jaden's real dream was actually much simpler. He wanted to take care of his mom.
Jaden, what are you going to do with the money? £900,000 I think it is that you've won.
Yeah.
What are you going to spend it on?
So probably buy my mum a house so we can just chill out.
Because you share a room, don't you, with your brother?
Yeah, me and my brother, I have a bunk bed.
In a cramped house in Essex, Jaden wasn't chasing fame or glory. He was sharing a bunk bed with his brother, watching his single mother struggle to keep the lights on. If you've ever shared a room with a sibling, you know how that feels. No privacy, no space that's truly yours. And when you're watching your parents struggle financially, you feel helpless wanting to help, but not knowing how. His mother, Lisa, was doing everything she could, working full-time, raising multiple kids alone, barely making rent each month. So when Jaden wanted to pursue gaming seriously, she didn't quite understand it. I mean, how could she? To her, it looked like her son was wasting his time on a screen. She even got so frustrated she threw his Xbox in the trash. For most kids, that would be the end of the story. But for Jaden, it was just the beginning. Because at 13, he discovered something that would change everything: Fortnite. He was one of the game's early adopters, jumping in when it only had 30 million players in late 2017. While most kids played casually with friends, Jaden saw something different. He saw an opportunity. As Fortnite exploded from 30 million to 200 million players by 2019, Wolfiez wasn't just playing anymore, he was grinding. To Jaden, any moment not getting better at Fortnite was wasted time. Homework was put to the side. Friends' messages were left unanswered. He was fully locked in on one goal: becoming Fortnite World Champion and taking care of his family. And on February 22nd, 2019, Epic Games threw him a lifeline: $100 million prize pool for competitive Fortnite. The World Cup was coming in July, and it would be held in New York City. For a kid who had barely left Essex, New York might as well have been on another planet. But Jaden knew this was his shot. This was his chance to change everything. But first, he needed to find a duo partner for the qualifiers. Enter Dave Rojo Young, a Dutch player who would join him for the ride of a lifetime. What followed was the most intense training of Wolfiez's life. February to July, 5 months of relentless preparation. While other teens were focused on school, Wolfiez was grinding, and his body was paying a price he didn't even notice yet. The qualifiers were brutal. With over 40 million players participating, only 50 duos would make it to New York. Week after week, more players were eliminated, with only the top duos from each region advancing. But Wolfiez and Rojo, they were dominating, placing at the top. Everything was going according to plan. New York and their ticket to the World Cup was inching every step closer. The final week, only 3,000 teams remained. They were one of them. And it all came down to this: 10 grueling matches to see who would qualify and who would go home devastated in defeat.
The final standings, the last four coming out of Europe. It's been so absurdly competitive, and let's take a look. Punch some tickets going through. Wolfiez and Rojo taking the top spot.
The boys had done it. They had earned their ticket to New York City, but just weeks before the World Cup, disaster struck when Jaden's visa application was rejected.
Basically what happened was Jaden ticked the wrong box on the ESTA application. You have to do it online.
It would be easier if it was buttons, wouldn't it?
So to do that, and he's ticked the wrong box. My one got accepted, his one, he's ticked the wrong box. So for that reason, it got denied.
His mother was faced with a difficult choice: fly to Belgium for an emergency visa appointment, or let Jaden's dream die.
I can either fly to Belgium with him, I've got 2 other kids and I need to work. You know, if I don't work, I'm not going to get paid. We don't know if he's going to win this thing.
No.
I need to work, and plus I've got to take time off work, you know, and I don't want to be unreliable because this is my living. I've got to support my kids, I've got rent to pay.
This was the moment that determined everything. A single mistake on the wrong checkbox threatened to destroy years of hard work. But mom refused to give up, and through relentless persistence, she managed to secure an emergency slot at the US Embassy in London. Days before the tournament, they got the visa. They were going to New York. July 27th, 2019, Arthur Ashe Stadium, New York City. From sharing a bunk bed in a cramped house to 23,000 screaming fans watching him compete for life-changing money, the journey from Essex had led to this moment, the biggest stage in gaming. Most players, they would crumble under the pressure. But for Jaden, this is where he thrived.
So first of all, we had like a warm-up, so just to test if all the equipment's working. I absolutely just wiped the floor with everyone in the first warm-up game, and I was just buzzing, ready to get into the first game.
They weren't expected to win, but hoped for a finish in the top 10 and earn a split of $225,000. But as the matches progressed, something incredible was happening. Game after game, Wolfiez and Rojo were climbing the leaderboard. Top 20, top 10, top 5. With each placement, the prize money grew larger. $50,000, $100,000, $500,000. Going into the final games, they were in striking distance of first place. Wolfiez wasn't just playing for himself anymore. Every elimination, every victory, every point earned was bringing him closer to the moment he dreamed of since he was 13. The moment he could finally get his family out of that house. In the massive stadium, with tens of thousands of people watching, it all came down to the final game. Everything was on the line. New York was watching. Essex was waiting. Backstage, his mother paced around, remembering their battles over gaming now potentially changing the trajectory of their family and future generations. Going into the final game, the stakes, they were brutal. First place was now out of reach, but one mistake could cost them $450,000. With only 15 players remaining, Wolfiez went down. Rojo's hands trembled as he tried to stay alive as long as possible to secure the key points.
4 players remaining with Arkram sitting in the highest Elam count. Rojo seconds, he has to build up. Still a safe zone, a quick 180.
In that final moment, everything Wolfiez had worked for hung in balance. Years of grinding, his family's struggles, his mom's doubts about his gaming. It all came down to this. And in a flash, it was over.
We saw it on the board in our game that we came second, but we didn't want to believe it. So the only time we actually believed that we came second is that when it came up on the big screen.
When the dust settled, Wolfiez and Rojo had finished in second place, $1,125,000 each. He had done it.
All the worry and pain off my mum's shoulders, I could finally lift up. All my hard work has finally paid off. I was so happy in this moment.
At 15 years old, Jaden Ashman became the youngest esports player to win $1 million. But more than that, he could finally take care of his mom. His dream had come true. So why would this dream soon become his worst nightmare? Well, back in the UK, the months after the World Cup were everything Jaden had imagined. He bought his mother the house, a real house, with separate rooms. He was on every major news channel. The financial pressure was gone, and his social media following exploded with popularity. Life was perfect for a while, but success in esports requires one thing above all else: constant practice. So Wolfiez kept grinding 8 hours a day, every day, just like before. After all, this was his career now. This was his life. He had proven himself in New York, but now he had to maintain that standard. Then something happened.
However, after a normal day of playing, I finished my session and my hand started to ache. This would only be the beginning, because after this, I had to take a 3 or 4 day break.
For most people, a few days off would be a relief. But for Wolfiez, these days would shatter everything he thought he knew about himself.
You have to understand that my whole life revolved around Fortnite. I would get up, not even eat or shower, and hop straight on my PC to grind. But not being able to play for that short amount of time completely altered my perception on things.
For the first time in years, Jaden was forced to sit in silence. No game to play, no rankings to chase, no distractions. Just him alone with his thoughts.
I had to sit there and look at my life, not as Wolfiez, but as Jaden. And I was very unhappy with who I was.
The boy who had achieved everything he'd ever wanted suddenly realized something terrifying. He didn't know who he was without the game. And the worst part, everyone around him saw him as the ultimate success story. How could he tell anyone that winning $1 million had actually made him miserable? The hand injury healed, but the realization didn't go away. Wolfiez returned to competing, but something fundamental had shifted. He had achieved his dream, so why did he feel so empty? The answer became clearer as he looked at what years of gaming had actually cost him.
Mental and physical health is completely overlooked in gaming, and years of neglect left my body in a complete state, as well as my mind. This was my physique at the time. I was frail, unhealthy. I couldn't even walk to the shop and back. That's how unfit I was.
If you have ever spent hours gaming on a daily basis, you know that feeling when basic physical tasks become surprisingly difficult. But the physical damage was just the beginning.
And my relationships with my friends and family had also suffered. I felt alone and I fell into a bit of a depression. When I was playing, I was on top of the world. But every night when I laid down in my bed and I looked at myself, I wasn't happy with where I was.
Even with all the money in the world, Jaden was still grinding, still isolated, still choosing the game over everything else. The success had trapped him in the very lifestyle that was destroying him. 3 years after his World Cup victory, the facade was cracking. And this is when Jaden found himself on live television. Across from him sat a man who specialized in gaming addiction. That man was me. February 8th, 2022. Good morning, Britain.
Britain's youngest gaming millionaire has told this programme that online gaming can be a real force for good. What do you say then to those who say that maybe you're okay with it and you've got a handle on it and it's made you very rich, but other guys your age and girls your age are addicted to it and it's stopping them doing other stuff with their lives?
During that interview, something interesting happened. While defending gaming, Jaden revealed something crucial.
It's like with everything, you have to just you have to make sure everything in your life is like balanced, you know? But like you said, anything in life, you know, if you don't have a balance to it, then it can be a big problem, like with me.
He was talking about balance, and somewhere deep down, he knew his life was anything but balanced. Just 5 days after our interview, Jaden competed in the Solo Cash Cup. He placed 19th and out of the prize money. His performances were declining. His room looked messy in streams, and he didn't sound happy in interviews. For over a year, he continued competing, but the spark, it was gone. His rankings kept dropping, his passion fading. Then came June 10th, 2023. One final journey, the Red Bull contested tournament. Jaden was headlining the event, the star player everyone came to see. He placed 88th. That night, he made a decision that shocked the gaming world. He retired from competitive Fortnite.
But feeling sorry for yourself gets you nowhere. You must take action, and that is what I did. Change my life around.
And this is where I think he deserves a lot of credit. Instead of wallowing in what he'd lost, he chose to focus on what he could build. And his fitness journey began. Slowly, methodically, he began rebuilding not just his physique, but his identity. The boy who couldn't walk to the shop transformed into someone with a Greek god physique. More importantly, he discovered what balance actually looked like. Gym sessions, friendships, traveling, adventures, life beyond the screen.
I want you guys to know that any position in this life you can change. And in this case, I wanted to fix my relationships with my family, my self-image, and I just wanted to be happy in my own skin.
Today, Jaden lives the life of a normal young adult, except he's one of the few people who achieved their childhood dream and then had the courage to walk away when it wasn't making him happy. He didn't just win $1 million, he won something far more valuable, himself. The journey from Essex to New York made him rich, but the journey from isolation to balance made him whole. And sometimes, that's the greatest victory of all.